Welcome to the historic Jude's Gym in Hager Hill, Kentucky. And it's historic because it's produced one of the best two-sport athletes the KHSAA has ever seen. And that two-sport athlete is our guest here today. Sir, if you would, introduce yourself.
JJ Jude, 171-pound state champion, 2011.
And also 2012.
Oh, I didn't know if we were doing both
Yeah,
videos. Sorry.
no, that's fine.
That's my bad.
Go ahead and just tell us about your 2012.
And 2012 state champion as well.
Now, this is the 2011 video. We're going to get to the 2012, but I wanted JJ to give some of his historic stats. But before we go any farther, some things about life is a little bit bigger than high school sports, and that's becoming a father to carry on the legacy. And as you can see, we've got our little man here with us today. So, JJ, go ahead and...
This is Lucas James Jude. He is 3 months old, so we'll get a little shot of him close up here.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Hi, big guy. Hi. And he's the next Jude in the pipeline, so be looking for his name in the on the wrestling mat and the football fields here in about another 13, 14 years.
Yep.
Be like his dad. So before we go on to your video, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but the football accolades, the wrestling accolades, I would say when your wife comes home and says, "You're going to be a dad."
Yeah.
Guess what, honey? It's positive.
I remember the morning whenever she told me. I didn't believe it, honestly. I was asleep. She put the stick in front of my face, and if anybody knows me, I have terrible vision, so I did not have my contacts in. And I said, "Well, what's wrong?" And she's like, "Look." And I was like, "I can't see. You're going to have to tell me what's wrong." And she's like, "We're pregnant." So, and then 3 months later, this little guy, well, I guess 9 months later, this little guy pops out, and we're about as happy as could be. So
we'll talk about this a little bit later, but because I think it's about nap time for our little man here.
Yeah.
But 2 times, you was in the finals twice.
Yep.
You played college football. You got to play at the Swamp when Florida was rolling. You got to play against U of L when they had Teddy Bridgewater. So you got to play in some big sporting events.
Yeah.
As for yourself, or I guess with the team. But when you're in the hospital and it's time for delivery, I can only imagine.
There's no other feeling like it. It's one of the craziest things ever. You got so many emotions. Is he healthy? Is everything okay? What's going on? Your wife's a champ, and she's absolutely destroying pregnancy, doing a great job, but you're a nervous wreck, crying. You're not really sure what's going on, and you feel as helpless as you possibly can be during that time.
I can understand that. Now, as you can see, we're in Jude's gym. I think before nap time, he's going to knock out a set or two to get a few reps in. But no, thank you, JJ. We're going to let JJ take the youngster in the house, give it back to Mama. We just wanted to, because this is your pride and joy.
Yep, this is him.
All the records, all the championships. I'm sure they're special, but this now is life. So
takes the cake.
We're going to let JJ be a dad for just a second. So we'll see you guys in half a frame. See you there. So JJ is now Daddy JJ, Father JJ. And before fatherhood, though, you had a phenomenal high school athletic career. We're going to talk about that. 2-time state wrestling champion. You have just about every KHSAA Russian record. And for those people that don't know, how did you find wrestling? How did you find football?
Yeah, so I first want to start off and thank Alex for doing these videos. If anybody's watched any of these videos are fantastic. As someone who grew up on a wrestling mat, seeing all these people that I grew up with or actually had helped me get to my point in my career, Chris Goss, just got to see one of his videos released. It's just so cool to get to see those people that you've grew up watching wrestle and kind of be a part of their little journey that they were on. So first of all, I want to thank you for doing these videos.
Problem.
It's probably one of the coolest ideas that I wish that I would have came up with it, honestly, because it's such a cool idea to get into the head of a wrestler. Because if anybody knows a wrestler in their family who has succeeded at a high level, it's they're a little bit different. They're a different person, and to see how they got to where they're at is pretty amazing to capture that moment. So. Sorry, what was your question?
You're fine. You're fine. How does JJ Jude find wrestling for people that aren't aware?
A huge part of that was Coach Jim Matney. A lot of you know how close that he was to me and my family, but I can remember whenever, he had things going and humming over there at Sheldon Clark, had won a couple state titles, and, I was born in 1992. I think that was the last year they won a state title there, if I'm not mistaken.
They won the team title in 94 and 95.
Gotcha. Okay, so 94, 95. So like I said, they were humming along. They had a fantastic team, and Coach was a huge part of that. He got me involved probably whenever I was in first grade. He had me out there on the wrestling mat, just being out there with the high school team, and then he would take me to every wrestling meet that there was or what they were doing. If it was Grundy or wherever we were going, I was there in the stands. And I'm sure many of you watching this have probably seen me at a wrestling tournament. It probably felt like I was in the wrestling community for 30, 40 years because I was on the mat with the high schoolers from the time I was in first grade.
And that, of course, Coach Matney, his last year, actually getting to coach wrestling was the 03-04 school year. Then he started at Johnson the 04-05 school year. And I remember that was right when I first started refereeing, officiating wrestling. He brings you up. I think you guys were going to an open tournament or somewhere, and you were up there hitting moves. You're hitting the spinning moss covered three-handle family redundant and stuff. As first or second grader, and everybody's like, "Who in the world is this?" And find out how long you'd been with Coach.
Yeah.
But you kind of grew up around Coach Matney, and everybody knows Coach Matney, state championship winning coach, football and wrestling, Sheldon Clark and Johnson. So you had a phenomenal feeder system, a phenomenal learning tree
for sure
to set under. Now, the football aspect of it.
Yep.
Let me get your stats
for sure. And I'll say this while Alex steps out of the frame. For any of you young kids watching, if you're not playing basketball, the sport you need to be in is wrestling. I mean, I would not be standing here. So tonight I'm being inducted into the Johnson Central Hall of Fame. I would not be being inducted into the Hall of Fame if it wasn't for the sport of wrestling. And the reason I say that is because it helps you so much physically, mentally, spiritually. It's one of the most amazing sports that, I had a really good football career, but I attribute almost all of it to wrestling. And I couldn't say enough about the sport of wrestling and the community that it brings you. So if you have an opportunity, get your kid on the wrestling mat. I promise you won't regret it because it's something that will literally change the course of their life because it teaches them a lot of values in life.
Well said. I mean, that's phenomenal way to say it. Now, of course, you played all 4 years of high school, but you went on, like we said earlier, to play college football. You played at EKU, Eastern Kentucky University, and running back.
Yep.
And then you transferred, I believe, to Georgetown College, and you played Georgetown. So you got to play all 4 years of college. And we don't have your EKU and Georgetown stats. I'm sorry, but we do have your high school stats. Now, take a listen to this. Rushing TDs in a season. You had 41 in 2011. That's sixth all time. Career rushing yards. First, KHSAA leader, not in class, not just all time. 8,633 yards. Let me say that again. 8,633 yards.
And last night was the 11th
year anniversary
of that record being broken.
Rushing yards in a game, you've done that against Woodford County. All-time leader, 584 yards on October 15th, 2010. I remember that game.
I do as well.
Well, you ran.
I remember going to the hospital after that game.
Really?
Yeah. I felt like I was so sick before the game, and it was actually questionable to even play. And Coach was like, "We'll let him play a couple carries, and we'll see how it goes."
The rushing yards in a season. Now, you're the only running back in KHSAA history, which has some incredible names, to rush for 3,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. 3,203 yards in 2010, that's second all-time. 3,061 yards in 2011, that's fifth all-time. The only one in KHSAA history to rush for 3,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. You had 255.1 rushing yards per game in a season in 2011. That's second all-time. 2,444.6 yards in 2010. That's third all-time. Also, the rushing yards, you have your all-time leader in rushing yards per game. You're also 10th against Holmes when you broke the record, 441 yards, and 11th against Covington Catholic, November 12th, 2010, 439 yards.
Yeah.
So first rushing yards in a game, 10th and 11th. So you've got a pretty good rushing record. But let's talk about your 2011 wrestling season. But before we get that, I've got you in 2008. I've got you 4th place, 130 pounds.
Yep.
2010, 3rd place, 160 pounds.
3rd place from Johnson Central, JJ Jude. Your 160-pound state runner-up from the D10 College. This time, it was at the quickest spin award. Receiving the quickest spin award of the 2020 member from Campbell County. Looking at 14 seconds, JJ Jude from Johnson Central. 14 seconds. Central. With 148.5 points, 4th place, Johnson Central.
All your guys, come on. Right up against the podium, guys. Back up for me a little bit, right up against the podium. There you go, good. Come on out. Jump on in there, my man. Jump on in there. There you go, good. Come on out a little bit. There you go, good. All right, here we go. All right, hold on. Good. All right, guys. One more. Come on in. Oh, easy rush. Here we go. All right, here we go. All right, guys. Good work.
Congratulations, Johnson Central.
Yeah. Be the 4th place team. 6 kids show.
And in 2009, 3rd place, 145 pounds. So you went 4th, 3rd, 1st. A 5-time state placer.
Yep.
In the 2010 season, I've got you with the quickest pin. I don't have you, but the KHSAA has you. The quickest pin, 14 seconds versus Jaron Trice from Christian County. Also, your team come in 4th place that year.
Yep.
You were on the team that in 2010 you got 4th place. 2009 you got 5th place. 2012 you got 6th. 2011 you got 7th, and 2008 you got 8th place. So 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. All 5 years of you being placing in state, your team also placed in the top 10, which is pretty cool little feat. Now coming in to the state tournament, you're undefeated.
Yep.
You come in to the finals 61-0, and you're not just wrestling, whoever starting up a program, coach is taking you to the Grundy when Grundy Invitational used to be I think you guys went to, was it Tennessee?
Yep.
Did you guys go to
Tennessee?
Smoky Mountain Duels or whatever
Kingsport.
it was? Kingsport, that's what it was.
Tennessee. Yep.
So you're wrestling some top quality
Yep.
competition. You come off the mat, or you come off the medal podium as a sophomore, 3rd place.
Yeah.
Do you know, okay, next year I'm not leaving here without state championship?
So there's a very defining moment in my career that happened at that state tournament. So semifinals, I'm wrestling a kid, and I'm beating him 5-3. I think it's either 2nd or 3rd period. Alex could probably tell you looking back at the stats, but I ended up letting him up because coach wanted me to let him up, and I tried to throw him, and whenever I tried to throw him, I fell straight to my back and got pinned. And I was ranked number 1 in the state my freshman and my sophomore year. So that was my sophomore year. And that match changed the course of my entire career. And a lot of people say, oh, you've had such a successful career, 3rd place. That match changed my entire career, even in football, because it put something in my stomach. It put that fire in my belly. Because whenever you go in expecting to win a state title, flip back 2 months before that match with that kid, I teched him, I think it was 18-2 in the duels.
Oh, my.
So I mean, it was it was a match that I just couldn't get over that semifinal hump. It felt like my entire career whenever I was at the state tournament. So to win it my junior year and win that semifinals match, there was no shot that I was going to lose in the finals. Like, it was one of those things where, you have that drive, and it completely changed the whole course of my career. That one match did. So very thankful for that match, but also very you don't really remember the matches you win. You remember the ones you lose, and that was one of those matches that changed the entire course of my career.
I think this makes about 132 videos that we've done, and at some point, just about everybody has said
You have that match.
You don't remember the matches you win. You remember the matches that you lose,
Yep.
and somebody will come in, 41-1, and I'll say, all right, what's the one? They're like, oh God, even all these years later, it still gets me. I can't believe that I done that. So,
Yep.
And you're talking to men that are, up in their 50s,
Oh,
some
yeah,
of them
for
in their
sure,
60s,
yeah.
talking about, a match they lost in high school all these years later, how it stuck with them.
Yep.
And I guess that competitive fire
Yeah.
never leaves you. Of course, you come in regional champion.
Yeah.
You come in 171 pounds, 2011. First round, you're wrestling Jacob Whaley from Newport. You win that by a fall in a minute 14 seconds.
Yep.
Second round, you're wrestling James Johnson from Bullitt Central. You win that by a fall in a minute 25 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You get to the quarters, you're wrestling Devin Lynn from Danville.
Yep.
You win that by a 6-4 decision, and Devin comes in fourth place. So
Yep.
that was your first match without a pin. Was he just ready
Yeah,
to
he was
wrestle?
a really good kid. I think he was actually ranked like in the top 2 and the 3 in the state all year long, and we didn't wrestle a lot in Kentucky. That was one of the things that Coach did. We wrestled all around the state. We didn't want to see our competition until we kind of got to the state tournament or the regional tournament, and the kid was an absolute hammer. I don't know if he was a transfer in from somewhere or what, but he was a really good wrestler.
So the Danville people
Yeah.
have to let us know.
Yeah.
The semifinals, you're wrestling Court Mays from Rowell. You win that by a 6-2 decision.
Yep.
Court comes in second. So you've ended up wrestling the fourth place, third place, and, of course, the state runner-up. Now, you're in the finals. You're wrestling Jake Moppin from Fairdale. We're not going to tell you how this ends. We have the video. We have the introductions, the match, and the face-off for 2011.
And a little something to add about the finals match. So I'm pretty sure Jake actually transferred in from Illinois or Indiana or something to that effect. And all year long there was this, his kid's going to beat JJ.
Right.
He's better than JJ. And if anybody knows me, it was something within me that, like, whenever someone tells me I can't do something, that's when I want to.
Yeah.
And so going into this match, you'll see there was probably a lot more aggression within this match for me, just because I was told, you're 60-0, and you're told, hey, this kid's probably going to beat you, and the target's on your back, not on his back. So going into this match, I think we are both undefeated. So this was, his first loss of the season. So both really good wrestlers in the state of Kentucky, and I think, like, the state of Kentucky wrestling at this point, 2011, was almost at its peak. I feel like it was getting to the point where you're starting to produce wrestlers that are going to college and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this was one of the matches. So watching this match, I had a really good match with this kid. Ended up beating him pretty handily. But the kid was a fantastic wrestler as well. I think he went on to wrestle at Lindsey Wilson, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
Yeah, so he was a really good wrestler. This really doesn't display his best match. But I will say that, like, it was one of my favorite matches of my career, just because it was so hyped up, and it was one that I wasn't expected to win. So
Now,
we won't share anything.
Yeah,
else.
yeah, we're going to watch it. Now, also in 2011, you have Zach Salyer.
Yeah. Yep.
And we've done his video. You need to
Yep.
check out Zach's video. State champion. Now, Zach was in the finals in 2010. Comes up a little bit short against a phenomenal wrestler there,
Christian County.
Union.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Sorry.
one of the
He
urban-
wrestled Christian County when he won. Sorry.
You had Corey Spencer in 2008 beat Travis Sullivan
Sullivan.
from Wayne County. Travis
Yep.
was going for a 4-timer, but he ended up, Corey beat him, Travis 3-timer. You had Ryan Harlow in 2009, heavyweight. You had Zach in the finals in 2010, and then you and Zach are together
Yep.
in 2011. So pretty much your whole high school career,
Yep.
you got to watch teammates in the finals.
Well, and I think so. He was talking about our team, placing high in the state tournament. We didn't just have one good wrestler on our team. I think we made our team better by. Zach was my wrestling partner, and then going into my junior senior year, John Conley was my wrestling partner. Sam Preston was my wrestling partner, and if you go back and look at their careers, second place finishes. You know, like we drove each other to be better, and we had a really good wrestling room. You know, Zach's probably one of the best wrestlers to come out of Johnson Central. Probably should have been a 2-time state champion, but he just ran into, you know, one of the best wrestlers in the state. So, you know, I can't say enough about Zach. I probably wouldn't have won 2 state titles without Zach pushing me in the mat room. So.
Oh yeah, and you, like you said earlier, you had been to the state tournament several years.
Yep.
Just, you know, as a youngster, probably like your little, I don't know if you was that young when you went, I doubt you remember it, but.
I remember Dan Muncie winning state.
So 2004.
04. Yep.
So 04. So you had been what, in first grade, kindergarten, something like that?
Yep.
And of course, Dan's video's on the channel as well.
Check it out.
But you're at the dungeon. This is JJ's time under the lights.
Yep. Yeah.
Whenever you win your you get over that semifinals hump.
Yep.
And you have to go, you know, get your photo taken for the board, and you have to give all your stats and all that kind of stuff. What are you thinking? Like, I'm finally here. Now what?
Well, so the cool thing too is like I got 2000. What did you say? 2004. It was
2004.
So 2004. So I've been at this same building for X amount of years, and I've watched these kids win state titles. I remember whenever Ozzie Smith, or was it Ozzie Parker was wrestling Brandon Howard.
Yep.
In the quarters or semis, and I can just remember the crowd chanting Ozzie,
Yeah.
like, you know, watching him run out of the tunnel with his hat bouncing up and down.
Yeah.
Like, it's just things like that. Like, so if I could encourage you, take your kids to these things. This is what made me want to be in the position that I got to, because it was something like where once you get around that tradition, like that opportunity to win a state title, to have your hand raised, it's something that will absolutely fire your passion to get to where you're at. So, you know, getting back to your question, like, you know, I was super excited, but it was one of those things where you don't want to get, you know, too high, because things could go bad as well, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to let it, if you can, but, you know, you're going to definitely give it everything that you have. But things could go bad as well. So you kind of got to keep an even kilter. So whenever someone's like, "Oh, I'm not nervous," they're lying to you. I promise you, they're nervous before going into a match, 60-0 or not. Like, so it doesn't matter. You have to have a little bit of nerves, because I think that means you care.
Absolutely.
And you want to succeed and do right, you know, and be able to have your hand raised, not for just yourself, for your coaching staff who's put all the work in. You know, Coach Jim Matney poured a lot of time into me, and I'm very thankful for that. Sometimes in life, all it takes is, you know, an opportunity.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And Coach gave me that opportunity, and he saw something within me that, you know, maybe that I didn't even see within myself, and he was able to pull it out. And what you're about to watch is kind of the beginning of my life and my career, and what propelled me to be in the position that I'm in today.
All right. Enough of us talking about it, Jay. Let's go back to
to
the dungeon. 2011. This is the last year at the dungeon.
Yep.
We'll see you guys there. You guys are seeing what we're seeing. We're at the dungeon in Frankfort. And of course, this video has the introductions, the match, and the medal ceremony. And you were telling me off camera, it's been a while since you have watched this.
Probably 5 or 6 years since I've seen this match. So.
And of course, this is one of the, looked out and found this one, done some internet sleuthing, and I found it. And as soon as I told Jay, I was like, dude, you gotta get with me, because I had your 2012 in the first batch.
Yep.
But I'm excited. I'm gonna step off here, hit the space bar, man. Let's go. There's a young JJ Jude.
JJ Jude at 171 out of Johnson Central. He's 61-0.
61-0. 40-0. There's Barnett from Harrison County,
Yep.
who
61 matches, the most matches of any wrestler who made it to the championship here this evening, and he has the distinction a year ago.
Still gives me chills.
I can imagine.
I mean, it still gives me chills thinking about it. Like, it's crazy. Brings back so many memories. Seeing Coach in the corner, man, it tears me up. I miss him like crazy.
For those of you that don't know, Coach Jim Matney passed away in September of 2021. You got Joe Catan out there as your referee. So right out of the gate, you shoot. Oh. With a high lift right there.
So my entire wrestling career, I always felt comfortable on my feet. Like no matter where we were at on the mat, it was like I wanted to get to my feet. Even if it meant giving up points to get to my feet, I wanted to be there because I felt so comfortable and I felt like I could take anybody down.
We're out. We're neutral. I love how dark it is.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat the dungeon, man.
Like I've said in other videos, man, the best atmosphere the KHSAA ever produced was right here.
Yeah, so the building's tore down now, right?
It is. It's
Okay,
completely like it never even existed.
Yeah.
And you can tell Jake's taller than you. He's
Oh yeah.
He's
I would
probably
say
5 or
probably-
6 inches taller than you.
Yeah, I would
looks
say
like.
he's 6'1", 6'2",
All right,
if I'm
we're
not
out.
mistaken. I think I got hit for fleeing the mat
Yep.
there. Would rather give up the 1 than the 2.
Give up the point, yeah.
So. And for you guys watching, if I'm swaying too much, it's just because I still get nervous watching this. So.
Hey. It's obvious that you have the strength advantage. That's 2 takedowns that you pretty much manhandled him to get down.
Yeah.
Or, for the takedown, I should say.
Yeah. Like I said, I just felt so comfortable on my feet, no matter where or who I was wrestling.
Right. Now, do you remember hearing the crowd? Do you
I don't remember anything. I'll be honest with you. Like, it was one of those things where almost like an out-of-body experience. I was just so honed in, and I knew that, like, I wasn't going to do anything to lose this match. So at this point, 7-2. You guys can see it on the screen. We're close to the out of bounds here, so kind of killing some time. Ready to get back to the second period. Let them, flip the disc and hopefully get back on my feet again. Honestly.
All right, we're out. Joe calls you guys out. Let's go back to the center. And there was a monster crowd for the Johnson because you guys had
2 in the state finals.
Zach and you in the finals.
Yep. And Zach had just won this match, so you had just seen your lifelong wrestling partner, win a state title, and you're already on that high for him. And then 2 matches later, you have to step out and wrestle yourself. So seeing his success, and it also propelled me to get fired up for this match. If I needed a little bit more motivation from where I was already at.
He deferred. You take down.
Yep. Get to the feet.
And I don't see him being able to hold you down too much.
So I'm pretty sure I hit a hip, we call it a fat man roll here.
Okay.
But and put him right on his back, if I'm not mistaken. The two best parts of my wrestling game, in my opinion, I was always really strong. I put a lot of work in the weight room.
Yep.
After practice and stuff like that. So probably hit a fat man roll right here, just clamping down the arm and putting them on their hip, making them feel uncomfortable. So you'll see it here in a second. Right there.
Yep, there it
and
is.
Perfect. Get him back to his hips and get the 2 points.
Roll through.
I don't think Catan gave it to me. I think we just got to escape.
Yep.
Yeah. Perfect.
Gives you 1.
Yeah.
We're neutral.
But the 2 strongest points of my wrestling game, or I would say, whenever I was hand fighting or wrestling with somebody, everybody would say, "Oh, you're really strong in the weight room. Your legs are strong." But I feel like if I got my hands on you and I was able to clamp your wrist, I felt like that nobody could get away from my grip. I always felt like I had a really strong grip, and that was something that you can see. I'm always working my grip because I felt comfortable, because I knew that if you were trying to shoot or do something with me, I could control you by just using your hands.
Right.
And I also use the pass over. So you'll see this in a little bit, where I grab his elbow and I pass it over for the single, boom, there, and then lift.
Now, I promise you guys, he has not watched this beforehand.
Yeah.
It's just the memory.
All right.
Uh-oh.
So this is the most exciting part of the match, probably. Let's see. That's what is that? A navy? So he hits a navy when I shoot in, where he's so long, he just like stamps behind me. Alex, if you want to pause this for a second, we'll throw in the fun fact behind this. So my father's in the stands. For you all know me, you know how close me and my dad are. My father's in the stands for this match. Obviously, as a parent, he wants me to win a state title as well. He's been through the ups and downs. He's been through the semifinals losses, and during that point during the match, my dad actually fainted in the stands.
I'm glad you told
there's
that
some
story.
really good stories. I think he was standing beside Kendrick Dameron, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember who it was, but I don't think he watched the rest of the match because he had fainted, and they were trying to tend to him in the stands while this match was continually going on. So we can hit play, but I had to share that portion of it.
I'm glad you told that little tidbit. So you got took down. What are we thinking?
I get back to my feet because I know I can take him down. I've already taken him down 3 times.
Right.
Get back to my feet and just wrestle my match. So we're up. I'm up right now, 8-6. I know he's going to start down. I don't want to ride him, but the kid, he actually I feel like that was a huge mistake on his part. He could have got one more point out of this, but he chose neutral. I feel like he thought maybe he could take me down as well.
Right.
He was fantastic on his feet too, but he chose neutral. And then I knew that I was going to, this was it. It was time to turn it on and kind of close this thing out.
So he takes blood time, kind of give you a little bit of a breather. There's Coach.
I think I have blood on me at this
Coach
point as
talking
well.
to you, which that's the most Jim Matney tactic ever. Wait, there's more blood.
There's more blood. Let's take a breather here.
Yeah, let's kind of regroup here just a second. And what's he telling you right here? You remember?
Just wrestle your match, Jay. He was never like a very strict in the corner on me. It was the 2 things that he would tell me was, Jay, let him up, or Jay, take him down. Like those were like the 2 things that. Well, and you get to that point in your career, right? In the beginning, obviously, he's telling me things that I need to do. So there's that Passover again. I used it the entire match because he was always heavy with his reach. So you'll see it right here again, and then one more time. So my back will be opposite here, boom, and then we'll lift and drive all the way across and finish it right there.
So it's 3.
So 2 takedown, 3 backs, so 3 lifts to the back.
It's like 3 straight, just
Yeah.
incredible takedowns.
So I thought this would be, I thought that was it. I thought probably we were going to, I was probably going to get the pin there.
Right.
So before the match, Zach could probably tell you too, Coach had taught us this thing called a pipe wrench. So right here, I'm actually working the pipe wrench. It's completely legal, but Kintan does call it here. So you can tell me, but it's completely legal. Like it's across the back, it's perfect. My hand's just through. And Kintan had called it. So I thought I was going to pin him there with a move that we had just talked about like a week ago. So,
that pipe wrench is vicious.
It's tight. Yeah.
And that's the announcers were talking about the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Trying to give Johnson Central their 2nd state champion tonight. Zach Stallion won at 140.
13-6.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Half.
All the emotions right here.
Take the headgear off.
So a lot of people don't know, but that's where our crowd was. And I've always been someone who, it was never me. I've always wanted the community to feel like they were a part of everything that I have done as well. And just, the emotion, all of the losses, the journey. Coach is telling me here, hey, you need to act like you've been here before, and I remember vaguely telling him, Coach, I haven't. So that's the reason, you see all the excitement and stuff, but you see the medal ceremony here too, and it's just it's probably one of the best feelings, besides having little Lucas, one of the best feelings in the world to just accomplish this journey that you've been on since you were in 1st grade.
Oh yeah, and of course this is the complete medal ceremony. I had to include it. This being the last year at the dungeon. And just the way that the mat was lit up, then they would dim the mat light and move it to the medal ceremony. So the only light in the whole place was on the medal podium, and you stood on the 4th and the 3rd place podium twice.
Yep.
Now you get to stand on top of the big box.
Yep.
In a very well-deserved season, ending at 62-0.
Yep.
Brings up the 215-pound weight class. Features Kyle Durbin of Eastern out of Louisville, 41-3, a senior against
If I'm not mistaken, Maupin was also a junior this year as well. Ended up taking 3rd our senior year in the same weight class.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He ended up getting on the other side of the bracket in the state tournament. I think maybe Caleb Cantor beat him, if I'm not mistaken, or somebody. Actually, like the guy I wrestled in the finals probably beat him, but we were on the opposite sides of the bracket.
So there you are, taking your rightful place on top of the first place podium.
Yeah.
well, of the iHigh Broadcast Network.
So all those years of work for 15 seconds on top of it, but it was worth
Absolutely,
it.
it was worth it.
It was
worth
it was absolutely worth it.
Yep.
And of course, the 2011 video, phenomenal wrestling, and I'm glad we were able to find it, because the whole selling point of this series is having the video.
Absolutely.
Is whenever your little one grows up,
Yep.
we know that kids, they'll be sharing TikToks or whatever
whatever it
those
is, whenever they
crazy
get older.
youngsters are doing, and you can always have it and say this is my dad, this
Yep.
is dad done this, and the youngsters now that remember you wrestling, coming to watch
Yep.
you like you watched Ozzy.
Yep.
I'm now the crop that's coming through. Man, you remember that time JJ Jude was in the finals at the dungeon, and he got 3 big takedowns, and it's so great to have. But
Yeah.
of course, this
And
is
also,
go
too,
ahead.
you have to think a lot of us wrestlers will inflate our wrestling stories a little bit as well. So this keeps us true.
Well,
because I wouldn't have thought that it was that close of a match until the last takedown, because I don't remember it. All I remember is getting the win. I don't really remember the match as much, but a lot of us wrestlers like to inflate some things as well. For sure.
So with the JJ stats, with the state championships, we've got the proof here, and there's no need for exaggeration when you've got the record books and you've got the videos. Now, this is the 2011 video. You're a 2-time state champion, of course. 2012, we have the video for it as well. It's below this one in the playlist. We've got some pretty cool memorabilia to show you guys that Jay was able to dig out. But we're going to end this one here. We'll see you guys in 2012.